Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a really powerful and, let's be honest, pretty controversial foreign policy idea called peace through strength. We're going to break down how a recent argument uses this concept, looking at its main claims, the evidence it puts forward, and the pretty dramatic future it predicts. So, first things first, what exactly is peace through strength? Well, at its core, the theory is actually pretty straightforward. It's the idea that a nation's military power, and just as importantly, its obvious willingness to use that power, is the best way to scare off enemies and, kind of paradoxically, keep the peace. Now, the source material we're looking at today doesn't just talk about this in theory. Nope, it boils the entire concept down to this one single idea. This quote really gets to the heart of it, that global safety isn't about treaties or diplomacy. It's about whether America's enemies are genuinely afraid of its leader. To build its case, the source doesn't start with a bunch of charts or complex data. Instead, it kicks things off by creating a story built around a really sharp contrast between the foreign policy styles of the Trump and Biden administrations. And you can see that contrast right here. The whole argument really hinges on this. The source paints two completely different pictures. On one side, you have the Trump years, described as a time of peace and prosperity where enemies are terrified. But on the other side, you've got the Biden years, which are framed as a period of chaos and war, led by a president who's seen as weak and so incompetent. This black and white comparison, well, it's the foundation for everything else that comes next. Okay, so once that framework is in place, the argument moves on to its star witness, you could say. It presents a specific case study that's meant to prove the whole peace through strength idea in action. The situation down in Venezuela. And this is where the argument makes a really bold, really definitive claim about Venezuela's leader. It states, flat out, that Nicolas Maduro is gone. Now, we do need to add a little bit of context here. While this is the claim made in the source, as of right now, most international groups and news outlets still recognize Maduro as the leader of Venezuela. But, for the sake of deconstructing this argument, we're going to move forward with the claim just as it's presented. So, building on that huge claim, the source then lays out a whole series of major wins for the United States. We're talking about a massive oil deal, an exclusive trade partnership, and, importantly, the successful release of both political prisoners and American citizens who are being held hostage. This point in particular is used to show a really tangible success. The release of 4 American hostages is framed as a direct result of this tough foreign policy. It's a clear win that's easy for anyone to grasp, something that cuts right through all the complicated geopolitics. And because of that, this event in Venezuela is presented as way more than just a local victory. It's framed as a warning shot, a message sent to all of America's adversaries across Latin America, basically signaling that there's a new sheriff in town, a decisive and powerful U.S. leader. Okay, so after making its case by interpreting past events this way, the argument takes a really dramatic turn. It uses that Venezuela example as a launchpad to predict a huge and incredibly fast shift in the entire global balance of power. And the prediction is this incredible domino effect. According to the source, if this peace through strength policy comes back, it would trigger the fall of the regime in Iran, a genuinely free election in Venezuela, and the collapse of the communist regime in Cuba. And get this. All of this could happen within the next 6 months. And to really hammer home just how important this prediction is, the argument makes a pretty powerful historical comparison. It suggests that all these events, happening one after another, would be just as significant as one of the defining moments of the last century, the fall of the Berlin Wall. And this quote right here, it just captures that grand finale perfectly. The ultimate message is that the world is on the very edge of a fundamental reordering, a massive shift, driven entirely by the perceived strength of American leadership. So there you have it. We've seen how this peace through strength argument gets built. It starts with that stark contrast between leaders, it uses Venezuela as its key piece of evidence, and from there it predicts a dramatic reordering of the entire world. The real takeaway here isn't about whether you agree or disagree with the claims, but about understanding the framework itself. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. How does this specific worldview shape how we see and interpret everything that happens on the global stage?